The presentation of food is not just about the visual. Our eyes are connected to our brain, and as our eyes view something delicious, our salivary glands will start working so that we are already in the process of eating before we've even taken a bite. Tingles with flyby. Daily ASMR videos. Hello. Welcome to your own personal plating session. Today we're going to talk about the challenges and opportunities in plating meat and vegetables. Now, often in these plating sessions, we'll teach you how to set up an individual plate. For example, if you have guests over and you want to give everybody an equal portion. But obviously others do prefer to lay their food out and let people pick and choose what they will. So today we'll be looking at plating a meal all together on a dish. Now with this meal you may opt to have a starch, such as potato or bread with it, but some may opt to have it as presented here. Have a lovely meal for you today. It's a kangaroo filet with roasted carrots, roasted beets with lentils, parsley, lemon, almonds, and we have a topping of dressing and lemon butter. It is absolutely delicious. I'm just going to set the tongs to the side for right now. Now, for these dishes, I always think your main focal point should be towards the top. You'll obviously have some sort of garnish on top to really pretty it out, but you want to please the eye and the stomach by what is displayed prominently on the plate. So for this meat dish, we'll be putting the meat towards the top. So if we're thinking in those terms, we'll want to think about what creates nice contrast and color. If we obviously know that our carrots have a beautiful orange color, which would be very striking. We have our beets, which don't have the most contrast against the plate. And we have our lentils, which are perhaps the humblest among our ingredients. So I would start here. They are lighter brown color, so they can create a bit of lightness against our dark plate. And you can see this often done with mashed potatoes, or a nice option for a bottom layer as well. These are nice and warm. all of this food is quite fresh. Now you can see I've opted for not a completely uniform appearance. We don't necessarily want just one continuous mass. It's pleasing to the eye to have a little bit of variation, a few sneaking off the side. And that will allow us to still see a bit of the lentils as we build our plate up as well. So, because the carrots are so striking, I would put those almost as the second behind the meat. So I'm going to go with the beets next. And you can see against here, they get a nice bit of variance as well. You can see them better, which is what we want. You always want to be able to maximize the viewing of each of your individual elements. There we go. So now we'll place the carrots on top. Notice with the carrots, I'm going to place them one by one. We'll want to think about if our meat is going to be in the center here. We want to be able to see these carrots. And I like these tip areas. But I still want it to be somewhat scattered, so we'll start that way, but we'll build them up as we go along. Now we're just going to place every piece except one of our meat on here, and I'll show you why in a moment. I'm going to keep one of these larger pieces for right at the center. Now remember, with this sort of arrangement, you can do this. Now we have that spot for our final piece. You can do this with chicken, beef, pork. We have all sorts of options. But what I want to do here with this piece of meat, I may change my mind here. I'm going to go with this one. Put this one back on the pile. And maybe put these a little closer. I'm going to use this as the show piece of meat. So this is the meat that people are going to be able to see. And with this, we want to create a situation where we can fan it out almost, so you can see the full beauty of the piece of meat that you're eating. We'll just sort of play with it there. There we go. So So now we work about complementing what we have. We have a really nice canvas here. This is a really nice place to begin from. We've got a lot of height, we've got depth. You know, you can see eating that, but when we add on a few extras, it'll really bring this to life. So with this, I'm going to sprinkle a few of our almonds on top. And I purposely avoid the center part of our main meat, our showpiece of meat, because you don't want to take away from the beauty of that meat. Now, when we're working with our parsley, it can be a tendency to want to rush through, to think it takes too long to pull off each little piece individually. But something I like to do is to think about all the generations of people who've been growing and eating parsley. How our grandfathers and grandmothers have eaten it and used it and back and back and back. And you can see when you take that care and you take that time, it doesn't feel just thrown together. Feels placed. Still a bit random, but it has a beautiful elegance to it. Now I've brought this lemon along. We do have a lemon butter that goes with this dish. So when you serve this hot, the lemon butter will melt upon impact. Obviously, for our demonstration, we've gone slower. Our meat has been able to cool somewhat, but we still do have our lemon butter, and we have our lemon. Something I like to do with our knife don't pay attention to my cutting method, is just put a couple lemons at the corner, just to round it out and give the visual impression of that lemon flavor to the dish, which is a great option as well if you do lemon pepper chicken or something like that for your particular dish. Again, you could do this with roasted potatoes and chicken. Remember, the elements of green on the top really help bring things together. But if you roast things with rosemary, just use a couple sprigs of rosemary around. There's lots of options there. Now I do have this lovely dressing as well. This is a vinaigrette. Excuse my fingernails, which are now covered in delicious meat juices. This is a lovely vinaigrette. It has fresh roasted garlic, olive oil, and a sweet aged balsamic vinegar in it. And it does have a tendency to separate, so we'll be generous. Oh, you can just smell that, can't you? It really does bring the flavors together. This dish. It's probably enough for now. Oh, I can smell it. And now, just take. Now you have two options here. When I do an individual dish, I'll cut a pat of butter for each one. So you could do something similar. Oh yes, this is a lemon parsley butter. It's delicious. So, I think for this, just place it across the top. Maybe one more. There. This one on the end needs a little more. And you can see how when we bring these other elements in, really livens up a dish that maybe was just a lot of browns and dark colors. Get these gorgeous colors. And I don't know about you, but I am just wanting to dig right in. Well, then go ahead, join me.